Yo, coming news update that I just put in a cupcake. Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to the Games Kids today. And only today, we are here with another Sonic news roundup. I've actually enjoyed doing these a lot more than just, piecemeal, unless again it's something breaking that I really got to talk about for a while. But yeah, so sit down today. We've got a lot to talk about. Shadow the Hedgehog, potentially getting something new, the future of Sonic, another update on Sonic remakes, some more Sonic racing news, a lot of stuff to go over and discuss today. So sit down, enjoy the content, subscribe to your boy as you've been doing, and yeah, I love you. Let's get right into this. And also, I did one more thing. Just want to say, thank you for the massive success we've had the last month of Sonic Racing. All the videos have been popping off. Everything's been doing well. A lot of new people. Comment section, so everything. Let's keep going. All right, first things first, I did want to give a PSA, just, to remind people, Minecraft event is currently live in the game. It kind of came out of nowhere and as a big surprise that this was just a week after the Miku Fest. Miku Fest has already happened, and then right away we get the Minecraft event, which I saw a lot of people upset about, just being like, yo, can I not even have a week or two to play some regular rank before you throw me into another event? Which I agree. As excited as I am and I enjoy these events, just for the culture and the moment of playing with a lot of people, after 1 week after another is definitely excessive. I think this is sort of just a bad planning kind of thing where it was happenstance, game launch with Miku, they did the Miku event, and then they did this with Minecraft. So anyways, this is happening all weekend for Minecraft. If you want to go ahead and get your rewards, the Minecraft content is awesome. I did a whole video covering the track, but the track is obviously so fucking well made. They put a lot of love and care into that track. I'm almost surprised. It's almost with racing games, it's so funny. In a fighting game, the character is the character when you get a DLC, whereas in a racing game, your character is really the stage, right? A character is cool to get, but the stage is the highlight of it. And I feel like the Minecraft level did such a good job, representing Minecraft as much as it can, obviously, for a level. But that level is super fun. I love that the minecart is basically sticker fodder, where you could just display your coolest stickers, and people are making some really creative stuff on there. So yeah. Anyways, even the festival event online has different events than the last Miku one. So for this event, it's if you hit the people the most, you get points. There's another one where you're spinning like a Beyblade, and that one is really silly and fun. So good stuff overall. And yeah, I think next week will probably be a break from a festival, but Joker will come out, and then the week after will be the Joker Fest. So game's working. Game's putting its work in there. I saw also a lot of people panicking and talking about this, where the Sonic account was saying, in Sonic Racing Crossroads, we have detected misconduct, including cheating, use of unauthorized external tools, modifications of the game content, and unauthorized access of the game program. These actions violate the terms outlined in Sega's end-user license agreement and may additionally constitute intellectual property infringement or other legal violations. Sega retains the right to take action on users engaging in such behaviors. Action may include, but are not limited to, warnings, banning or suspension of the user's account, or injunctive relief, damages, and other legal remedies. So I saw a lot of people panicking, being like, oh, is this Sega finally, clamping up and not letting them out? No, they actually specifically have a terms of service where they talk about how modding is okay within their parameters, but this is literally talking about stuff like actual in-game modifications, whether it's track modifiers online, right? Whether it's people trying to access some of the DLC in the files, before anybody else, all the stuff that's external to it. But no, modding is dude, if you look at it, hold on, let me find this for you. Yeah, look at this, bro. Yeah, creative mods are still allowed and encouraged per the game's modding policy, which it's still crazy to me that Sega is that cool about mods. You know what I mean? Again, with Nintendo and a bunch of other companies, mods are so much more frowned upon. Whereas Sega legitimately has it in their, terms where they're like, hey, you can do this, have fun. But in more important news, this was posted on October 6th. We're going for the gold. We are excited to announce a new upcoming Olympic rings licensing collaborations with the International Olympic Committee, celebrating the Olympic brand and Sonic the Hedgehog. Stay tuned for more information. So huge deal. I don't think people understand how big this is. Yeah, essentially, they're doing a big marketing run campaign, discussion, everything with Sonic and friends at the Olympic Games. Basically, we could look over here at this image. I've seen a lot of meme art going around about Lean Amy, right? Or sorry, not Lean Amy, Green Amy. Lean Amy would be purple, I guess, but it is. Yeah, you got Sonic with the blue, Tails with the yellow, Shadow with the black. they couldn't find anything for Avi, so they just made it green. And then you got Knuckles with the red, which I guess, yeah, this is the best they could do for these. They weren't gonna put Surge in there, or whoever else. But yeah, I mean, this is a big deal. Obviously, licensing in these cases is really good. You got this art piece of Sonic in the Olympics, which looks so good. And obviously, when it comes to Sonic the Hedgehog, the Olympics are nothing new to him, right? You know, we have played Mario and Sonic at the Olympics growing up, and this got a lot of people talking about, like, well, what does this mean for the branding? Like, are we gonna get a new game? Apparently, according to the producer of the older games, if I look here, thank you, Sonic City, for this. Yeah, producer Lee Cocker says Sega's new deal with International Olympic Committee focuses on merchandise, not a new Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games title. So, yeah, that's something that immediately is kind of like disappointing. Now, granted, could Sega make like a Sonic at the Olympic Games as they've been doing? Sure, right? Like you've seen it like a few times before. Now, Sega released an Olympic Games that had like a Sonic mascot suit. There was a literal mobile game called Sonic at the Olympic Games. You know, people forget often that like Sega is the one that makes the Olympic Games. So they, you know, technically can do whatever they want. But I do know the Olympic Games have weird licensing issues with like who can develop them. Like I know Ubisoft now has the rights to like the Winter Olympics, which is why like they ended up making a different game for it. Like I don't know the full situation right now, the rights to the video games, but with this, you know, marketing licensing deal, this is more of like another W for Sonic of like, all right, like, hey, more notability for Sonic. You know, this is a big deal. Like, and this is the stuff we always talk about, where the franchise is really starting to grow. It's getting in good graces, and like being one of, you know, the official, you know, merch mascots for the Olympics is a big deal. You know, this is the type of stuff that people care about in the public. This looks good on store shelves when you're selling, you know, Olympic Sonic merch, right? You know, getting the name out there. And yeah, obviously Sonic's not a small name brand, it's a big IP, but again, it's the stuff like this we always talk about that like inherently is probably a bigger deal than any of us realize. All right, now one of the major things to come out of this week, shout out again to Sonic City for finding this, was IIzuka. IIzuka went around doing an interview with some major bullet points, especially coming up about the future of Sonic. But first, IIzuka explains how free and paid DLC content will roll out for Sonic Racing. So I'm gonna go ahead and read this for y'all over here. So IIzuka explained that the first 3 update racers, Miku, Ichiban, Like a Dragon, Joker, were chosen because they are currently active at the forefront of Sega games, which makes sense, right? After that, he said the team is thinking of selection from Sega's legendary characters, similar to those in Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing. We hope you'll look forward to what's coming each month. So that is confirmation that, like, for sure, all the free characters are Sega IPs. Now, I felt like that was kind of obvious, but there were some people wondering if, like, you know, one of those free characters might be Sonic characters or other, you know, maybe third-party guests or whatever, but no, it is confirmed, right? If you look at this, free updates will celebrate Sega's history, adding iconic characters from across the company's legacy. And yeah, with the season pass content will deliver headline crossovers that expand the game's world through new tracks and vehicles. But now we are here to talk about the 2 major headlines of the week. So Takashi Iizuka says the next Sonic game will deliver a new experience to the players. So Sonic team boss Iizuka has offered an update on the future of Sonic the Hedgehog series in a new interview with BBC, explaining that the team's focus is on developing a brand new mainline game titled designed to deliver a new experience to players. Which obviously, you know, we know that, like, we know that they're working hard and they want to do something crazy. I wanted to actually see if there's anything crazy actually in this straight up BBC interview. This will always be so funny to me that, like, Iizuka tries to get away from this, right? It's like they talk about in August, the mascot appeared to take a pop at Mario Kart from stage at Summer Games. So you guys remember that when he was just like, unlike other car racers, and then he says, so I didn't call any specific title, and there's a lot of racing games out there. He says, like, all right, I mean, come on, Iizuka, we know what you're doing. But yeah, he says Sega's having a little bit of fun. But here's the big one. So Mr. Iizuka says the goal is to make sure we're refreshing the game every month to make it really feel like a fun experience. So Sonic Racing, there used to be a time where you release a new game every year, says journalist Chris. That's not how things work anymore in video games. They often take 5 years plus to make. Right. Okay. So that's kind of a big deal, big noticing over here, because next year we're gonna be 4 years since Sonic Frontiers came out, and the year after being 5 years. And I wonder if that's kind of him telling us like, hey, don't expect the next Sonic mainline game to be next year. Which I don't know. I've been championing for a while that there's a chance that the next mainline 3D Sonic game comes out next year. But, even IIzuka coming up and saying like, hey, video games have to take 5+ years to make, tells me that we might be looking at a 2027 release date for the game, maybe early 2027. But obviously, with a game like the sequel to Frontiers, I think we all agree we want it to be the best thing ever made, right? At least I think, I know, honestly, I don't even think that's a stretch, right? I think a lot of us kind of agree that, the next 3D Sonic game is something that we really want a lot of work put into, right? Something that we think about all the time. We talk about how, they have to take the stepping stones from Frontiers into this, continue to evolve the genre, continue to evolve platformers, and obviously, scoping out the competition, seeing what they're doing, what they can enhance. All right, and once again, something we've talked about a long time here. So video game companies have been leaning on remakes and remasters of older titles in recent years. The trend has sparked hope among diehard Sega fans that remakes of Sonic Adventure series among the characters' first 3D outings would also be coming. But Mr. IIzuka insists it's not something his team will be looking at, as new technology enables them to create richer, more complex, more interesting world. So I want to actually first talk about the aspect of this, right? Richer, more complex, more interesting worlds. God, dude, I am so excited to see that next 3D Sonic game, man. Like just on a pure happy fan note over here, I cannot wait to see what they're cooking with this, because it really feels like they're about to go crazy. If you remember a few months back, we saw that demo reel of the 3D animations that they're working on, obviously, with the building blocks of Frontiers, with even the building blocks of Shadow Generations, right? Seeing how much more polished those, in-world activities were now going to whatever they're doing here with richer, more complex, interesting worlds. Like that next 3D game is going to be something that's just so exciting. Let me know, obviously, in the comment section below, what do you want and expect from this? But once again, he says, instead of using all the time and energy to remake a game that people have already experienced, we could be making a brand new game instead. And, it's funny. This is something that, if you look back at Sega 5-6 years ago, IIzuka constantly was actually talking about how much he wanted to remake the adventure games. There were different, the articles were much different. He was talking about how he'd like to remake them, how he wants to bring them back. But it seems like right now he is really not in the mood for it. And the reason being is just, and I think we can all agree to this, right now Sonic is thriving. Sonic Frontiers was a success, but was flawed, right? It was something that I think they know is a formula they want to refine, and we saw a bit of those refinements in Shadow Generations. But yeah, no, I think stuff like this just gets me excited. I was saying stuff like this gets me super excited, right? Because this shows to me more drive, right? A lot of companies like doing the remakes of games, but again, they're just saying they want to do something new instead, right? And I think we will eventually get the adventure remakes. I just think right now they are in a place where they are really invested in the Frontiers formula and those games. And so why spend the amount of time that you would make an adventure game to this? Because this to me tells me two things, right? One, it tells me that when it comes to adventure remakes, they want to go all out. If they're talking about game development taking 5 years, they're talking about how, if we remake it, we're basically taking away from a new game. It's like they might as well just say that, hey, one of our future titles is a full adventure remake. And it's very clear that they want to take care of it internally, right? That's the biggest thing that people don't talk about or realize. It's very clear it's a project they want to be in charge of. Otherwise, they would say hey, we might be looking at a team to help us with this, right? So continuing on here, right, I think the team is really interested in taking the same amount of time and energy and effort to really bring new experiences to the players, right? Which we've talked about, oftentimes, right? Talk about 5+ years of development or 4+ years of development. You'd rather at that point just make something new, and some people want to work on remakes, which is fine. We get a lot of those nowadays, and I like them. I'm glad they exist, right? But at this point, Here's my thing: is like with Sonic Team, they're not in the position yet where they're like on all cylinders 10 out of 10 to be just going back to the past. I feel like we need these games to continue to be bangers, keep getting headlines, and then we can go backwards. One more thing though, he says, but he doesn't rule out the possibility entirely, especially as Sega has form of re-releasing titles from characters' back catalog. If they wanted to, if they don't have it in their capacity as a team, they can always outsource a lot of talented people who are big Sonic fans that could do it justice, he says. But he had Sega doesn't want to be seen as only a retro company. There's a balance between doing new things and doing old things in order to make sure that the company is looking ahead and not just being a company that's relying on its past. I love this. You know, I really love this kind of, you know, conversation point discussion of being like, hey, yeah, like, look, in an industry in a time with remakes and companies relying on their past, focusing on the future is really important. You know what I mean? I think Sega understands that. They're making a new Crazy Taxi. They're making a new Jet Set game. We're getting new Sonic games left and right. Like, and of course, we're going to be getting stuff like remakes. You know, Persona right now is in remake city, as we've seen, you know, the Persona 3 Reload and Persona 4 Revival, which it's cool to get remakes. But it's just, for me, what's interesting about Sonic is we don't really get remakes, right? Or at least as much as, you know, we initially would have wanted, right? Because like with Persona, we've gotten remakes. With Jet Set, we know there's like a leaked remake that they're working on, you know, but like even Monkey Ball got like basically remakes. So with Sonic, we don't really get that. But Sonic is also an interesting case where like a lot of the best stages you kind of constantly see, right? Whether it's like Shadow Generations technically being, you know, old stages coming back in a different way, right? Whether it's Sonic Frontiers, Cyberspace, where you're getting stage layouts from, you know, the series past, and they're like, we technically, you know, don't have remakes, but a lot of Sonic's past is constantly brought up. I mean, we know this even from, you know, Sonic Racing Crossworlds with retro levels. But I wanted to say something interesting here, right? And they talk about outsourcing a lot of talented people who are big Sonic fans. And they also talk about specifically remakes of adventure series, right? I want y'all to think about this, right? He doesn't mention Heroes, right? There is never, even like the last time we read and talked about this, there was no mention of Sonic Heroes, right? And to me, that's a little bit weird. You know what I mean? It's just a little weird that you would just leave out Sonic Heroes in that conversation. Now, we've talked about multiple times here about long time rumors of Sonic Heroes remake. In fact, one of the early rumors that, remember that leaker that turned out to be a freak, but was right about a lot of stuff. One of their earlier reports was that Sega might be testing a Sonic Heroes remake, right? And in fact, the rumor was that they were going to experiment with Unreal Engine 5 to see if Sonic would do well on Unreal Engine 5. Well, turns out our first project of Sonic that we've seen in Unreal 5 is Sonic Racing Crossroads, and we've seen how buttery, beautifully smooth that's been. And so Heroes remakes don't seem too far-fetched when you think about a few things. One, Metal Sonic, right? He's coming up as a big bad in the next movie, right? Two, obviously Amy is in there giving her some spotlight. Three, just in general, you know, Sonic's and Sonic Team, you know, showing the cast a lot more, right? That's gonna be a big deal in there. And like, you know, we just got the Chaotix back in Sonic Racing Crossworlds, and you know, with AB coming up in the spotlight, with Team Sonic always in the forefront, with Team Dark re-represented, and then you have stuff like Rail Canyon's assets are basically done. Metropolis assets you can basically use, you know, from the Sonic Forces level, right? You can even use Seaside View, right? I know they have 1 billion assets of Seaside Hill, Seaside View, right? With the Pumpkin Mansion level from Sonic Racing, they have a bunch of, you know, assets from Hang Castle, like, and I just feel like there is a lot of levels, even like the Bingo Highway stuff. They have those assets from, you know, Sonic Racing Crossroads. Like, there is a lot of levels from Sonic Heroes that basically, while obviously with Heroes, you know, it's a video game, and so there's still a lot of work to be done with the levels, polishing and all that stuff. There's still a lot of stuff that they have where they could kind of like cook something up together if they really wanted to. Like, that's my thing, is I think my thing about next year, you know, 35th anniversary, big deal, you know, big surprise. My thing is something's coming out, right? Something is going to come out. I think no matter what, right? Factually, no matter what, by next year, we will see the next mainline Sonic game. But something's coming out next year. And so whether it's a Heroes remake, right? Or maybe, you know, another remaster with new content. Regardless, something comes out next year. And I don't know what it's going to be. I do think there's a chance that it's, you know, the future of 3D Sonic, because again, Sonic Frontiers came out in 2022, right? And while I'm sure there was a team working on the DLC, I don't think everybody was hands deck on the DLC. If you really think about it, by next year, the next mainline game will have been in development for 4 years, and that's, you know, remember, factoring the fact that they have the baseline of, you know, what Sonic Engine is, you know, what Sonic Frontiers is. And so maybe it won't take 5 years, maybe it'll take 4. But regardless, it seems like it's pretty obvious adventure games aren't on the table. Heroes is on the table. And of course, you know, a potential remaster of Sonic's old games, as well as maybe something completely new next year. And speaking of next year, there was another, you know, book over here showing a bit of the design of this, which nothing really too big. People are pointing out about the longer quills on this, but not getting a different model. Look, I think we're going to get a different Sonic model. I think that's a conversation and something that's going to come up eventually, and we are going to get this new Sonic model in there one day. I just don't think they're going to reveal it in like a calendar. I think it's going to be like a big deal, and they know it, bro. That was one of the big things Kishimoto, who was, you know, the director or, you know, supervisor on Sonic Frontiers, was talking about, you know, when he was replying to 1 million fans with fan feedback. They care about this shit and they're gonna take care of it. And not only that, you know, to emphasize this, we legitimately this week got a, you know, news article saying that Sonic Team are currently hiring for a character designer and supervisor for the Sonic series, which, you know, that's kind of like a big thing over here. Let me check this out. So job description: you'll be responsible for creating and supervising graphic design, character illustrations, 3D models, etc., focusing on the Sonic IP. Requirement: graphic design, character illustration techniques, experience creating 3D character models, and yeah, so they're clearly cooking. They're looking for new talent, which is always, you know, always nice. Something that's underrated about Sonic Team is like, or like video game development, is people don't look into job listings as much as they should, because oftentimes they basically tell you what the company might be working on or what they're looking for. So yeah, nothing too crazy here, but again, shows that Sonic Team is probably going to start investing in more 3D models and 3D assets, which is good. All right, but enough about Sonic. It's time to talk about Shadow, and the big headline that a lot of people have been asking me about and just been asking about in general. Yeah, Shadow the Hedgehog. So let's get right into it. So report: trademark repositories reveal that Sega has filed for a Shadow the Hedgehog trademark in Japan, right? Filed in September 2025. The application lists clothes, toys, and other categories under its classification, while products such as computer programs are otherwise listed alongside the goods and services trademark encompasses. It is currently unclear whether the trademark signals towards any significant game to be released by Sega in the future, though the possibility remains to be seen. So yeah, this is the image over here. If I can go ahead and give it some zoom in. Thank you again, Tails channel, for this. Yeah, basically what happened here is they trademarked the name Shadow the Hedgehog, right? And then if you look at the classification, it, you know, for home video game consoles, electronic circuits, magnetic tapes, magnetic discs, optical ROM cartridges, you know, all this stuff, right? And it's classified as, you know, clothing, toys, paper, education, entertainment. So basically anything, right? And this has gotten a bunch of people talking, you know, because obviously we are now in the, we've reached the point with Shadow where people are like, are you kidding me? More Shadow? Come on, man. What are you doing? Why are we getting this? And to that, listen, I think people need to understand and realize, Shadow is getting to the point of a Mario type character that is probably gonna be their own series. You know, like, you know how Luigi gets his own games, right? Or Wario gets his own games, or Yoshi gets his own games. We don't really have that with Sonic yet. But I think this guy over here might be the true catalyst to that. I mean, he originally was, right? He got Shadow the Hedgehog back in the day. He wasn't technically the first Sonic character to get a spin-off. I guess the Chaotix were, but obviously in a big major 3D way, Shadow the Hedgehog, you know, always carved his own path. And even with a game like Shadow Generations, that's basically a Shadow the Hedgehog video game. And so I wouldn't be shocked, right? I mean, there's a few likelihoods to talk about here. I wouldn't be shocked if Shadow was getting more games. You know, I think he's going to be a character that, just like how Mario gets his games and Luigi does, Shadow might end up just being his own thing. People don't realize how popular this guy is, dude. I'm telling you, like, people that I know that don't give a shit about Sonic love Shadow the Hedgehog, and, you know, Shadow in the movie, right? People just love this character. His design is cool, his look is cool, he has popularity, like, he is beyond Sonic in some way. So anyways, for me, there's like 3 realistic scenarios that are going on with this over here. One, the most likely is that this is just some sort of merch line, or, you know, a little animated special on YouTube. Because remember, they've patented, you know, trademark names before, like Sonic and Friends, and then that ended up becoming, you know, a kids TikTok series, right? They patented Sonic Rumble, and that turned out to be a mobile game, right? They've trademarked names and things that have turned out to be smaller products, but they have also trademarked things that have become games. You know, Sonic Frontiers was trademarked, right? And boom, look where that's at. Sonic Rumble was trademarked. You know, Sonic Blitz was trademarked. You know, and not all their trademarks come to life. There's like 2 trademarks that they've done that still haven't come to life. Like, there's still that Sonic Smackdown trademark that we haven't seen come to light. But we have seen that, yeah, whenever they trademark something with Sonic, it usually comes to fruition eventually. Not always, though. But with something so broad, like just the name Shadow the Hedgehog, it kind of could just mean anything. If you want me to be so honest with you, like, it could literally mean something as simple as, you know, a merch line, a t-shirt line, right? Again, a little Netflix little series, right? But, well, no, I mean, a Netflix series would be a big deal. But obviously, you know, some people think Paramount is going to do something with Shadow, because we literally know, based on massive reporters, that Shadow is getting his own anything, right? He might be getting his own movie. He might be getting his own show. It seems like it's undecided, and it doesn't feel like we've heard much about it, which I'm surprised. I feel like at this point they would have just announced, like, hey, yeah, we're making, you know, let's tie the knot. We'd like to announce that we're making a Shadow the Hedgehog spinoff. Now, it might be something going on with Paramount. I don't know. But yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if this was, you know, whether a project outside of video games. That feels to me like the most logical, whether it's a show, new movie announced, you know, new merch line based on the movie. I really think it's most likely something like that. Another likelihood is that they're just trademarking it just in case, which a lot of companies do often. You know, you'll see companies sometimes trademark like 50 names just so they at least, you know, have it saved in the bank in case they wanted to. And the least likely that, you know, is potentially the most exciting is obviously, you know, if they brought back the game Shadow the Hedgehog, which I don't think is happening, right? That game is just too, you would have to basically gut that game from the core to make it again. I mean, you could, right? You could make it like a fun, different kind of action game. But at that point, just make a new game, you know, but you would have to gut that game to the core. They would not make a game like that with 10 different endings. You have to do the 10 endings to get, you know, the true ending, and you would just change so much about it that it would just be a new game at that point. And obviously, you know, people think there might be just a new Shadow game in general, which would be cool, or maybe they're doing remasters next year of old games, just bringing them back for the 35th anniversary, which that would be cool. But yeah, this again, it's so broad. Like, if it was like Shadow the Hedgehog, a semicolon, like, you know, a new beginning, like the Dark Age or whatever, like, I feel like I'd be way more easily able to talk about what this could be. But because it's just Shadow the Hedgehog, it literally could be anything, you know, and that's exciting. But also, you know, what the fuck does that mean for us, you know? And obviously, let me know in the comment section below what you guys think or want or would like to see with our fellow hedgehog over here. But yeah, that's it for the Shadow news there. Just, it's gotten a lot of people talking, and again, I understand why some people are like, I would like other characters to get highlights, but I keep telling people, like, dude, they will, and they have. You know, Amy's about to have a massive year in 2027 alongside with Metal Sonic. Knuckles basically had his year where he got his own show. He was highlighted in movie 2. He was playable in Frontiers as DLC, right? He had his own comic line. He got the Knuckles prologue, you know, for Sonic Frontiers. Like, characters are getting their shine slowly and surely. I think people just want the more weirder picks to come back, like your Silvers and your Blazes, you know, and those characters to get really big highlights, which I agree with, and hopefully, you know, they will. I guess to end things off here, Sonic is announced for PUBG. So in Fortnite, we just got shoes for no reason, and like I guess we got some stuff in what's that game? The Rocket League, but PUBG got a full Sonic deal. And yeah, I figured we'd at least see this trailer because it is CG, and oh my, okay, hold on, maybe I gotta hop on PUBG. Okay, you got this is so weird, dude. It's so weird to see this, man. Why are they doing this, bro? Why does he look like this, bro? And then you got the cars. That's pretty cool. It's always, dude, it's always crossovers with like the weirdest things, right? Oh shit, look at him, bro. He's running through. Yeah, he does the pause. He hits that shit. Good for Sonic, bro. Do your thing, man. I like it. It looks like they're having at least fun with it. Which is, oh my god, he looks so sick, bro. You gotta never go wrong with Super Sonic, bro. Damn. Too bad this is PUBG, but yeah. I mean, I guess there it is, bro. It's just so, dude. Video games are silly, bro. Crossovers are funny, but again, more just stuff where Sonic and the brand is just growing and they just continue to do more crossover stuff. I'm telling you, man, there's something about Sonic that like you could literally put him in anything and it somehow works. But yeah, guys, that's gonna be it today for the news video. Let me know what you guys are most excited for. What did you care about the most? What do you know, just tell me what's up. Hope you're doing well and all that stuff. Thank you all for watching. You guys are the best. And of course, I will see you all next time. Peace out.